Good morning and happy Friday to all of you. And what a good morning it is because I've already been up about 8 hours. I got a chance to co-facilitate with the amazing Kimberly Weefling for a Japanese program, which means that I was up at 2:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time this morning. Love the digital world. Now, speaking of which, of loving the digital world, both this guest coming up and I are PCMA, which is what the Professional Convention Management Association. I should have known this because I got the trivia right for it. And the Digital Event Strategist of the Year. And we both attended the Convening Leaders Conference. We did that virtually too, which we thought was apropos for both of us being finalists is digital event strategist. And so you're going to get a chance to introduce her. You're going to get a chance to hear two finalists for the Digital Event Strategist of the Year pontificate about the things that we think that really matter. And we're going to sneak in a review of what our experience was like at PCMA convening leaders. Let's give a round of applause to the one and only Cindy Smith. I got to get all your letters too. Geez, hold on a sec. I got it right here. Hold on. I can do it. DES and CMP. And I thought I saw the stat. If you have both of those letters, you should earn approximately on average 22% more in the industry. Did you see that study? Dr. Evil. That's right. Oh, wait, Cindy, we lost your mic. You're actually not on mute, but we cannot hear you on my side. Good times. And and by the way, let me just tell you, as two digital event strategists, we do go through rehearsal. So I literally heard her 1 minute ago.
Okay, hold on.
Oh yes, there we go. That's it. That's it.
My cat decided to walk across, the joy of working from home. My cat was walking across my desk, and I thought, in my wisdom, let me just shut the laptop. And I'm using my laptop mic instead of my camera mic. And therefore we lost the mic, but hopefully you can hear me now.
Yes, we could hear you now. You know what? That's actually one of the funniest stories. Our good friend Marissa Mann, who's in my karaoke group, had her
Mhm.
cat walk across her keyboard during the middle of her song, which stopped the song.
Yeah. I've learned to, if I leave the room, I now have to lock my keyboard.
Because your cat could like make
Because my cat will send a random Slack message to coworkers that's just, and God knows what they're going to believe.
You could get hot. You could get a raise with that. Like if your cat's really good.
No, she's not. I have two of them, and neither one are really skilled yet at their typing. We're still working on filing.
Oh my.
Um,
Cindy, I'm so glad that I got a chance to meet you because I saw your name when we hit the finalist list, and then I actually saw you in the chat room at PCMA Convenings Leaders, and then we actually got a chance to hang out here on Zoom. And so I'm so glad to meet you. So some of my friends haven't gotten a chance to meet you, but I already know that you're amazing. But could you share to some of my friends who you are and what you do, Cindy?
sure. I am a meeting planner by trade. I started in this industry in the 90s. Gosh, okay, so I am old. I started in the 90s, and I have been, I was doing brick and mortar events, and I I mean, I like the organization, I like the planning, and I love doing the technology. I was always hanging out in the AV room, talking to those guys, or in speaker ready, learning about the tech. But then I had to go and do the gala with the flowers and, wine pairings. And I'm just like, this is nice, but I'd rather just be eating it than planning it. So when COVID hit and there was an opportunity for me to switch to digital, a good friend of mine said, Cindy, there's a digital job. And I'm like, you really think? And she's like, go for it. And I did. I love it. I jokingly say I did digital and I liked it.
I love Cindy. Again, you gave that quote. I've always liked doing technology, but hated doing the galas. And that makes you a little bit of a unicorn, in the industry, Cindy. So I think
Yes, it does. It does. I think one of the struggles we have in our industry is I don't think anyone comes out of school going, I want to do the digital event. They all want to come out doing the Oscars and the Golden Globes, which you couldn't pay me to do. No, not happening. And I
not
apologize for my lighting. So I know it's bad lighting.
Well, you already know what our theory here for that is that we actually have this. It's called the no sorry zone. You never have to
Okay.
apologize in this place. And I already asked you. I asked you pre-show, and you were like, "Yeah, no, it's fine." So one of the things is that I might have came out, although I came out with a computer science degree, and I didn't necessarily think I was going to be in the events business. But I took a path from computer science, and I actually worked at Microsoft, and then went to uh, I started my own company and did team building, and the team building is what led me to the meetings industry. And now in the meetings industry, I already knew I had all this technology chops and stuff like that, and I always thought I was kind of like not the best meeting planner in the room. There'd always be these 20-year meeting planners who have done all this stuff, and then COVID hit, and I'm like, hey, I think I found my place, right? Because there are definitely things that I do in virtual meetings that I think other people don't do. What led you to the digital event strategist, and when did you get that? I'm just kind of curious.
Um, I was looking just to, you know, learn more and make sure I grew up with my mother telling me, if you can't do it right, don't do it. Kind of adage in my home. So I wanted to be able to, when I was doing digital events, know the best practices to do it well. So I remember I saw it on PCMA during COVID, and I'm sitting here floundering. If you didn't, a lot of people knew me before I did digital as, hey, isn't she the one who does all the hotel contracts? Because I'd be cranking out 100 hotel contracts a year. Well, I'm not booking those during COVID, so I had some free time and signed up for it on my own, and did it and got the certification.
And how hard is it? Because I'm considering it now.
I've heard it's changed a bit. When I did it, I did all the modules, and then I made flashcards, and I took my test, and all that went really, really well. I've heard they've changed the format a bit, so I haven't seen the new content or the new test. I'm a firm believer. I'm just going to keep getting my CE so I don't have to take the test again.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. Just recertify.
Just
And
recertify.
it's not hard, especially on the virtual side, to clock up enough hours to recertify. Was it every 5 years or
I
so?
think it was every two, but it was at like under 20
Under 20 hours?
every 2 years, at least when I did it this time, I think.
Oh, I sneeze 10 hours of learning in a weekend sometimes.
I I think you asked the question the other day on LinkedIn about people saying Zoom and virtual events are dead and stuff. And I was just like, you're not there's learning modules for everybody. And not some people, I use my husband, he's the person, you hand him a manual for a computer and he's going to know how to do that up and down and sideways. Me, I like to do interactive webinars or in the room, but there's something out there for everyone, and everyone should have the opportunity to learn. So
And that reminds me. So you're at the American Physical Society, or is it APS Physics? So tell me a little bit about that, because you're the virtual event manager. So I'd love to know, what's their challenge and how do you take virtual to solve that challenge?
sure. I think the biggest challenge with APS, these are physicists. And there are two main challenges with physicists.
Yep.
One, you're kind of in the same realm, if you've ever heard the term publish or perish.
Yes.
There's also present or perish. So at our meetings, everyone's abstract is accepted. Our March conference, which is our largest, has over 10,000 talks.
Wow.
Okay, I can't stream that many. I agree. We're good. However, they all expect everyone, if I have to answer the question, why can't we just use Zoom again? I might cry. Because in a hybrid world, it isn't just Zoom. And especially if you're in a union town.
All right.
Yeah, we were in Chicago last year, this year, Vegas. So I think giving everyone an opportunity to present. They also don't like doing the pre-record simulive kind of thing. So we're trying a new experiment this year for the meeting of splitting it. And if you were scheduled to present in person, you will present in person. We will capture slides and audio and put it on the platform. And then a week later, we're going to do a virtual live stream of everyone who is presenting virtually. And they will have a live interactive session where they can answer Q&A live. Also, the Q&A is very important. to physicists. And there's a culture of challenge going on, kind of thing, where they challenge the person presenting a bit or the scientist in a very constructive manner, supposed to be.
Yeah, well, he's
Yes.
supposed to be peer reviewed, right? So that
Yeah.
everyone will
Mhm.
certify it if they really agree with it. You know, another one of my good friends, Rick Altman, who's taken his presentation summit after 2 years of running hybrid, like live hybrid, came back and for his conference he split it, and it's now in person and hybrid. So I think you're the second person. How did you come to that decision after your 2 years of COVID experience?
We did, last year we did try to do hybrid. It didn't do so well. I would like to be streaming more sessions this year to have a more live, kind of like more robust aspect to the first week of the meeting for virtual attendees. But hey, budget is budget, and things. I think we looked at another group, AMS, and they do scientific meetings. Mechanical, I believe, is the area, and we're trying their model because they had a fairly productive meeting because they have similar presenter parish kind of stuff.
Interesting, yeah. So I mean, budget, I sounds like was one of your primary factors, and just like logistics might be the other one.
Well, yeah, I don't think Microsoft streams that many programs. I mean, we have 75 concurrent sessions. There aren't that many cameras in Vegas, kind of thing, let alone technicians to run them. So yeah, budget is a concern.
Hmm.
A big one. So that's part of it. And one, just that people need to present live and they want that interaction. That's what they're used to in their universities
Yeah,
or
yeah.
in their labs. And I think that's a big part of it.
Well, and I think hopefully this split makes it easier too to deal with some things, like you don't have to have all the permutations of you're presenting live audience, you have presenting virtual live audience, right? Yeah. So
Mhm.
you basically get all these permutations, and you have to think about every single one of them if you really want to do it right. So,
Yep.
right. So this is a great question. Okay, so you're a digital event strategist. You have
Mhm.
a lot of these live presentations. What has to happen for you for a virtual meeting to be engaging for you?
Well, with the physicist, they're not meeting planners. That's when it comes to,
Win.
they have a different social dynamic. We'll phrase it that way.
Yeah.
You and I received a Slack from some other digital attendees, or not a Slack, a LinkedIn chat, and we jump on a Zoom and we just start talking. And in the virtual world, we know people have 9 million other things going on, right? They have their email popping up over here, or their cat walking across their keyboard, or the dog needing to go for a walk, or a kid needing a sandwich. You got a lot of stuff going on. And I think what works for networking for us, we've tried what we like to call the hallway networking, where they were trying to recreate
Yeah.
the aspect of, oh, we're just by the coffee station. Can you pass me the creamer and let's start talking?
Yes.
I need to give them a reason to go there. So we're having topic-driven hallway networking now, like,
Hmm.
hey, women in physics, you're going to meet, we're going to have a networking discussion here, or we're going to have someone from journals talk about challenges in getting published, or, in physics, I used to work with civil engineers in a similar situation. The person who designs the nuclear reactor is not the same person who's working with the doctors on creating a surgical mesh for fluid. Both are physics, but they're very different.
But
So we have a lot of different topic-driven areas.
isn't sometimes your job though to put those two people together who are disparate and like that's the collaboration? Because sometimes they might share
Mhm.
something, the other one would go, "Wow, I've never thought about applying that."
Yeah, we do that in more of our poster area, where there might be some logical overlap a little bit more. And then we do have some more generic ones, like I said, women in physics and challenge or minorities in physics, where there are those specific areas where we're trying to be more inclusive. Physicists are very, very wanting a very open and inclusive community overall. And we really, that's a smart part of it. They're also very climate change oriented. So having the virtual option is
Hmm.
really great for them, because it's like, hey, you don't have to fly. Um,
You'll have to
kind
go
of thing.
find it.
So
Yeah. So do you use breakout room hosts in that case? Like, do you have somebody who's hosting the room facilitating, or is it just mainly the setup and saying, here's the like a table with a stanchion on it saying, come hang
I
out.
do like having a breakout room host because otherwise, Cindy comes in, it's like, hi, I'm Cindy, I'm in Virginia. And John comes in, hi, I'm in Washington. And then it's like,
Oh, wait, I have a sound for that.
crickets,
This
you
one.
have crickets.
Yeah, ready?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
It's awkward.
It is awkward. So having a facilitator, whether it's a staff person or a volunteer in there, I think is helpful just to get as a conversation starter. It's like having a session and having someone in the audience prepared with a seated question in
Yeah.
case new questions come from the audience. It's along the same policy.
And again, moderation or facilitation, I think, is so important because it's like encourages people to start talking, and then sometimes you gotta like monitor some other people who might over talking so that all the voices can get heard, and yeah, so it just really flows as a great conversation. I feel like that's one of our best practices we discovered really early on. I don't know if you know who Corbin Ball is in the meetings industry,
I've
but
heard the name. Yeah.
yeah, he's actually won his award. He's from our chapter, and
Okay.
I actually got him in the early stage of the pandemic to be a breakout room facilitator, and it was like kind of mind blowing. Like, I grew up in the industry, and I used to go to all his sessions, and then he was coming into mine to actually be a breakout room facilitator. But we were experimenting with like what are the best practices, and that certainly came about because all of us met ahead of time and they knew everything that was going on and how they would run their breakout room. And so when it actually executed, it was so much better than the usual, like, what are we supposed to talk about? What's going on? So speaking of best practices, you and I attended PCMA Convening Leaders, and I would love to hear your assessment or your reviews of things that were great and things that we thought could even go better. Because again, we're both digital event strategists. We actually care. We're really passionate about this, and we really we were looking for a way to share this information back to PCMA around this.
Sure. I would start. I think, I really felt PCMA should have pulled out their own playbook for the digital event course. Little things like welcoming the virtual audience verbally from the stage. You know, I remember I thanked Desiree Knight, who I have known for years in the event industry. We studied for the CMP test together many years ago.
Wow.
And I was like, thank you for saying hi to us. We appreciate it. I think that was one.
Mhm.
I just also felt it was an afterthought. In many ways, they could have, explained that some of the sessions, hey, you're supposed to be off camera, and these are supposed to be interactive conversations, and not just someone sitting there talking. I was in one, and there was the moderator was from a vendor, and I was aware of the vendor. I've used them before, and I kept saying, I said, I feel like I'm the only one here, and someone else finally turned their camera on. I'm not scared of camera. I do turn it off occasionally for bad hair day, but
Sure.
I mean, I think this is just virtual events in general. Sorry, someone is calling me.
I thought I told you never to call me here while I'm live streaming. It's your cat calling you.
It's the cat. It's Molly. She wants her fancy feast. No. So hey, at least it's at I don't have to get up and run across the room and hit mute. It was right here on my computer, and I just went, see ya.
Decline.
So I think I pull out your own playbook and look at some of the own notes from your own thing and follow those to start. I felt there were some opportunities to connect, whether you're connecting the in-person or virtual, that to me, or at least connect the virtual. If you can't connect the two, because I know it's not easy, especially, I mean, I've been to PCMA, it's running around and hugging and, hey, you want to get a cocktail or a cup of coffee.
Yes.
But so that might not mesh well, but connect the in-person to the in-person and connect the virtual to the virtual. And I think some better instructions and guidance would have been good for some of those special sessions.
Yeah, I could share that. So the whole program was run on Notified's platform. I've actually went to Notified's conference this year. You should definitely look at that if you haven't gone. And they bought hub.me, one of our good friends from Vancouver, Washington. And so that's now integrated. That's kind of where the platform was. And so It has you got to get a token to get in. So it's one of those. I used to use Pathable, right? RIP, rest in peace, Pathable. I knew Jordan Schwartz. I still know Jordan Schwartz. He's fine. I know, but Pathable would all have the same problems. You have to get this magic token to get in. And if you don't get that, you're kind of screwed. And it's just like the same for a Zoom link. If you don't have a Zoom link, you don't know where to go for a virtual meeting, right? It's kind of over. So once you get into that, though, I thought they did a good job. The streaming was great. The most of the streaming quality was good.
The quality from the streams was good.
And really interesting, they're using, I guess, Sonic Foundry's video engine inside of there, and it gives two videos which I didn't know were selectable. That was the thing I wish I had a little instruction on, but I finally got it, which is you could click on the right side, you get the live video. You click on the left side, you get the slide deck. And then I split them. Of course, I create two browsers. And
I did not play enough with that to do that. I just looked at the side by side and, was like, this is a weird picture in picture arrangement, but okay.
Yeah, that's what it was doing. And so that's how you got that. And then the chat, thank goodness, could pop out. Although the sound was on by default. I have a real preference to not have sound on my chat, because when you have 100 and more people inside of there, it can really it's distracting. And so I had to turn that off, but at least I figured out where that was off. And then as we got into the experience, I think that they had great content. Obviously, I think they had some great speakers. I like that they had a mashup in between. So I got a chance to meet Jen on LinkedIn, and she was the host for the mashup. And they actually had great parts, like keynote speakers came into the virtual stage, and that's kind of actually virtual only content. And I think that's actually an important piece where they filled that time there. And then again, they had a few open conversation sessions, which were like 30-minute Zooms. Now, there's some funny parts. The host didn't show up in our first 30-minute Zoom. So basically, it was me.
I hate when that happens.
Oh my gosh, me and Karen took over. So Karen, who's another CMP, right? We just started acting as if. And I'm just like, oh, hey, great. Well, hey, Cindy, let's see you're logged in. And then we just ran the topic. And interesting enough, yeah, the PCMA person like chatted us some information. They said, yeah, go ahead, you're good. So, and I think the two universal things that I really heard, Cindy, which were really important, which was more digital content. Because in the years, people who have attended in the past, I went to one live, but I haven't gone to the last two, said they did a better job, maybe even in 2020, of putting really valuable content. And again, remember, we're a conference. Two things we want to do. We want to learn, right? And we want to meet people. We want to network. And they should have had those networking opportunities, maybe even right up front, which also could have been an orientation that said, here's the platform. So just like you, right? Instead of reading the manual, if somebody just guides you through it and says, hey, look, here's a feature, click on this, you can learn all the things that would make your experience the best for it. And the second piece was more engagement with the virtual audience, taking more live questions. They did do it in some sessions, but not all. And I think I have one, out of that digital playbook. And my personal digital playbook is use a virtual MC. And a virtual MC can come in and engage the audience, even if it's all video, but like can hit the chat like in the keynotes. And then, of course, be that virtual MC comes in and then continues the continuity during our conversation and really build a community. And I know I personally have done that in other conferences, and it's amazing how much community you can build with the virtual audience if you have a great MC. Anything else you want to add, Cindy?
I think those are some big ones. I don't mind having to log in to access my content. That's not a problem. I understand. I work with scientists. They don't want the world to see their content, and you want it to have value and not just be free. So, but I mean, this is a simple one, and it put a button on the homepage that says access the platform here, because I looked and couldn't find my link, and I'm like trying to chat somebody, and it's just a simple solution, and I'm sure it was just an oversight. So
yeah, a best practice too is on event day, like on day one, especially like 2 hours or more before first session, have all your help different versions staffed. Because they're going to tell you, which is like, and by the way, because us as attendees, this is the thing we do. We don't do anything and read all the emails until like 1 or 2 hours beforehand or 10 minutes or whatever it is. And so You need somebody there because they need somebody to immediately answer the questions until like it drops off, and then you can slow down a little bit. But I have found that if you focus your customer service staff during those first couple moments, like pre-show, and then as soon as it starts for the first hour, you can solve like 99% of your problems.
I agree. We actually have a Zoom room that we
Yes.
like this, and we send that out. It's built into our platform that click here for help,
Yes.
but it's built also into our know before you go email with a link saying, if you need assistance, here are the hours this will be staffed, and you can just get on and go, hey, John, I can't find my link. Can you give
Yes.
me the link? Or
Yes.
what's my password? Oh, you're going to send me a password reset. Thanks a lot. Because especially first day, it's usually, I can't, your 90% of your questions will be, that is Cindy's mental statistic, not I don't have factual statistic on that. It seems like 90% of my questions, sorry, working with physicists, I have to
Yeah, you either validate or you have to disclaimer.
I have to validate that is not literal, that is figurative. That 90% of your problems, I think, are I can't find the link, or I forgot, I can't log in. Those, and then once people log in, they figure out after a day or two, where do I find stuff? How do I set my schedule? Those kinds of things.
And then you get into the last problem, which is F5, what I call F5 platforms. In this case, they're streaming through a thing that's going through my browser. And whenever anything goes wrong, the first thing you have to do is hit refresh or F5. There are a lot of different platforms. That is one of the places where Zoom and some other platforms have an advantage, is that if they start having problems, they crash, they reboot themselves. So it kind of takes care of itself. But, a lot of these platforms, when you have audio or video problems, you got to hit F5 before the IT team will start taking you seriously.
Can I throw one more out? And this just also might be my own personal style. From someone who's been to PCMA, I realize it takes a long time to get people away from the coffee and into the seats for the general session. I understand that. However, start on time, because I had a good 10 minutes listening to a DJ where I'm, answering email instead, or, hey, let me go get another cup of coffee, and, oh, I might miss the first few notes, but please start on time. Your virtual audience loses its attention span in less than 30 seconds.
Start on time, end on time. That is a mantra. If you want to talk to two digital event strategists and you don't hear anything else, right? Start on time and end on time. And if you're going to have a bunch of filler, let people know how much filler you have. Because you know what? The rest of us here, I feel like TiVo, right? We're going to fast forward through it if we were watching it, unless we're interested, and that's fine. Or, when we're watching live, we should know that there will be 20 minutes before the keynote comes on. And if you only wanted to watch that, you should watch that. So it's really tough, because I understand sponsorship. Don't get me wrong. I appreciate.
I pay for it somehow.
Yeah, I appreciate love our sponsors too. And as a virtual audience, you should just let us know, because what happens is what Cindy says is that your virtual audience tunes out and you may not get them back. And then you lose all the sponsorship value.
Well, I am from someone who has attended PCMA in person for, probably 10, 15 times.
Yeah.
I was aware, the program starts at 9, it's 8:45. I still have time to walk my dog for 20 minutes before I need to be in my seat. Yeah. I knew this in my virtual world. I did, but then I came back and there was still a DJ, and I'm like, okay, I thought it would at least be announcements now.
Amazing.
Okay, there, better lighting.
You got something else?
The bushes behind me, so they trimmed the bushes, and the sun is sitting lower in the sky, so I am constantly, I call it my FBI, or I'm in witness protection. That's all.
Joan Eisenstadt, who was with us on the conference too, actually lives across the street from FBI.
Ah, yes.
DT. Yeah, so she always wonders, are they looking into her building? Cindy, so let's go into this. What is some of your best advice as a digital event strategist? What are some of your go-to, or must-haves, or in your, whatever you want to call it, most important things in a digital event?
A strong promotion team, I think, is part of it, because people need to look. There's an ad, if you think you've told them how to do it enough, you haven't, you're wrong. And especially with speakers, it's like you just said, the attendee waits till the last 10 minutes before. So does the speaker. And unfortunately, they haven't tested their tech. They think, oh, I'm just going into a Zoom call. It's like, hey, we tested our tech, but Cindy shut her laptop all of a sudden, because the cat walked across it and she loses her mic. So I think that's that one. Communicate with your speakers often and in multiple places. Try to have a place where they can find stuff. I started putting things on our website, even for speaker instructions, because at least they can go there and find some general information. I have speakers from around the world. I'm not available at 2 a.m. to answer a question about where's my Zoom link. It's like, oh, you log into the platform and your Zoom link's there. So there you go. So I've started putting things up there, including links and such. Going on site, I take my wireless mouse and I request I had one planner try to say, oh, you can just use your laptop screen. And I'm like, I'm trying to look at 10 streams here. I need more than my laptop screen. I was trying to use Vivaldi, where you can have multiple things streaming in the same browser.
Wow.
And I'm like, I need a bigger screen. I'm old. If you want me answering emails and doing this, and I think you hit a big one, and that's support. As much as we've done virtual events, everyone is different and people panic. I remember during the pandemic, I was working with a group of doctors, and there's nothing like the head of someone like the CDC, and his assistant can't find the Zoom link for the keynote address. So you gotta really, if you're working with someone high end, make sure you also communicate with their assistant. But that's something I learned in my in-person days as well. Have that assistant support person in the tech world, in the academic world, their teacher assistant, whatever it is, on speed dial and save. So, and
I got someone on Facebook who's saying you got recommendations for tech like mics or lighting. What's some of your favorite tech? I'm actually about to create a good, better, best list.
Sure. Don't use Cindy's lighting scheme. Get a ring light, or at least put a desk lamp on. I find that the Logitech cameras, they're affordable, and for what I'm doing on a day-to-day, I'm not usually presenting. I'm not John with the big production setup. I'm the behind-the-scenes person. So me doing a speaker training, the Logitech cameras, I think, are fine and affordable. The one I'm using right now is under $100. It is, a light adjusting.
Yeah.
I also love wireless keyboards and mouse.
Mm-hmm.
That way I can go on site and I am see, I got my keyboard, my mouse, I am not Pinocchio. I am Pinocchio. I have no strings to tie me down. So those are big. I think that's from my personal office. On site, I usually trust my AV team a little bit on what's going to be best to get the hybrid components onto the screen. Platforms, you have to find the one that meets your needs, and go back to your CMP question. And the first question you ask in any meeting is, what is your goal in this situation? So go back to that and then choose your platform based on that goal. If it's to do little bubbles that float around so you could pretend like you're walking through a hall and bump into someone and talk, then use that kind of platform. If it's just, I need to get some content out, and do a presentation with some chat Q&A, use a platform that does that. There are, find out what your goals are and then match the platform to that, because not one size fits all.
Yep. Good tips. That one piece that you said, which is, when people have this belief, we do this all the time, and then don't do an AV check, is just exactly the moment you put somebody up on stage and their mic doesn't work, or, something happens to their camera. I did just chat out here. I have a list of all of my equipment. I hopefully got out of here on social media. But Cindy, let me give you a little tour of some of the stuff that that I've been using here that I appreciate, and give some different levels here too. So yeah, so your webcam, I actually used a Microsoft HD webcam for a period of time. I've now gone onto this, which is a Canon. So this, that's how you get to the next level, but it's a jump of like 100 to like 600. And so that's why it's not for everybody. But now, yeah, I published an article today or shared an article today that says it's 2023. Do yourself a favor and upgrade your virtual setup. So those are some of the things. I actually love these gaming mice. So this mouse I actually wire all of my stuff here in my home office because I can have the wires and it had less chance of it failing or batteries dying. So that's something I think about over the long term because the last thing you want is your mouse to die in the middle of a program for a battery. This is a Stream Deck. I think this is one of the coolest devices now. I know a lot of people have bought them and then didn't program them, but once you get over the hump of learning about it, everything that I'm doing here, such as switching scenes, is on a push button. I also automated almost all my text messages. So if I have a chat message that I use over and over, like, hey, here's my LinkedIn profile, I can actually push a button and it's there. And of course, there's no typos in it. The link works. And so there's a lot of really cool things to automate with that. Lighting here, just like this. This is a LED panel. And then this is an umbrella with a fluorescent light. And so using two lights on the left and right, 45-degree angles, if you look up 3-point lighting on any YouTube video, those are things that I really appreciate. And then over here, there's a mic. This is a backup mic to the wireless mic. The wireless mic here gets up in the couple $100 range too. But if you want to be wired, there's mics like 100. Again, the Yeti is also one. And then I also use an iRig HD2 as one of my mics. And I got to tell you, it really makes a difference. Two things with the mic, right, is that number one, get a great mic. And number two, get it as close to you as possible because your voice quality will radically different. You can do tricks like this when you're really close to your mic, right, Cindy? And so a lot of people get a great mic. Like you get a Yeti, and if it's still 10 feet away, it doesn't matter. Right? Ideally you should get it as close as possible. It's okay to be on screen because I can also tell you as a speaker, your audio counts for about 75% of your presentation. And if your audio is no good, you can lose video for a while. You can freeze on screen, but if your audio is still clear, you can continue going on. And so those are some of my best tips and tricks that I've seen over the years.
I thought of a tip. And this is put in your speaker notes because this killed me. We were having a great session last year, virtual panel for a physicist, and one guy was in Rwanda. And, he was just a unique voice to have, right? Remind your speakers to plug in their computers during a live stream because Zoom and WebEx will drain their batteries faster than anything. Honestly, his battery just died. And suddenly we lose this one panelist. And I'm like, anyone know where he is? And then he popped back in. He was like, I had to plug my computer in. Put it in your speaker notes to make sure your computer is plugged in because they are battery drainers big time. And that's an easy, quick tip. When you're doing your tech check, have your guy go, are your computers plugged in? Because I'll take my computer to another room for a meeting, because of my lighting situation. But, it's all good. And that's an easy one.
So Cindy, I have saved multiple speakers for this because when they shared their screen and they share the whole screen and you can see the power indicator, like usually on the bottom right, I'm like, and could you please plug in now? Thank you so much, right? So I have saved that, but I got to share this other one too, Cindy. We were live streaming a live pitch contest. 12 entrepreneurs just wrote their business plan, are pitching their company for the first time. So one, they're nervous, right? And 11 of them are live here in Seattle in a theater with a live audience and a virtual audience. And one of them is presenting from Ghana. In the middle of her pitch, all her lighting and her camera goes black. She lost power. Like physical power, like she doesn't control that. She lost her, city block power.
It does happen.
Yeah, luckily she was on a laptop and her Wi-Fi, I think, was her phone, so that's why it didn't die.
Mm-hmm.
She finished.
I recently saw a note for speaker notes. Once again on best tips, make sure your presenters, in case there is an emergency, like they've lost power.
Yes.
That is there. If you're using something like Zoom, like you said, sound's half of it. Can they just call a number and be a conference chat?
Yes.
Kind of thing. And, hopefully they sent their PowerPoint slides to someone else and they could just go old school, next slide. I'm old enough to remember, don't drop the slide tray. that old. So,
That best tip is have either the Zoom link and or the phone number handy or ready on your phone, and make sure you have a fully charged phone as your backup, right? And so that's a simple tip that I can tell you has saved multiple presentations from not being fully canceled.
you got it.
And so, oh, anyway, so this woman from Ghana finished presenting, and out of 12 entrepreneurs, she won. She won a $5,000 bonus grant for her company, and she presented from Ghana, and she was celebrating like crazy, and it was 5 a.m. in the morning.
Oh, it's sometimes when things like that happen, it's just a beautiful moment.
Right? That's the magic. I think that's why we're in the events business anyways, is that when people meet and cool things happen, I think that's where the magic happens. Speaking of magic, Cindy, what do you see in the future? As a digital event strategist of the year finalist, what do you see in the future happening to virtual for you?
For me, I see one of our goals is to be engaging our international audience more at APS. So I'm going to, and we're doing some more hub and spoke type of events for our bigger meetings. I just see it as a growth opportunity for those who, there are many reasons people can't travel, right? Ailments, caregiving, pet giving. I jokingly say we give out childcare grants. Can I get one for putting my dog up in a boarding my dog while I have to go away for a week and a half? Even those who just aren't comfortable traveling for whatever the case may be, or don't have the financial resources. I'm a student in Rwanda. I don't have the financial resources to pay $300 a night, even if I'm sharing a room with 4 other people in Chicago. It's just, but me having an internet connection and paying a registration fee is within my budget. So I have an opportunity to learn and join a greater community. So I see it as an extension. I am not one of these people who say virtual will ever take away the in-person event. And I also believe not every in-person event should be virtual. Not every event should have a virtual element. If your goals cannot be achieved through virtual, don't do it virtually.
Yes.
But there are a lot of opportunities where you can. And you know what? Why don't we take some of those meetings and do them 100% virtually, and then continue the community in LinkedIn, in something like a LinkedIn, where you can just build and come back later and have a debrief with somebody or, chat. So I think those are some of the that's why I think next 5 years, we'll see definite growth in the virtual area.
Well, I love one of my friends too said that virtual has really helped increase the number of women speakers. Right, because you can avoid possibly that burden of travel and leaving and making all those arrangements, whatever the arrangements you have to make. And so I would love to hear, why is accessibility so important to you and your association?
As I said earlier, we have a real goal to be inclusive in the physics community. There are things like, for the in-person meetings, we've been doing things like childcare grants for years. Or having rooms where, if me and my husband come together, I can take the kids while my husband will take the kids while I'm speaking. Hey, let's get that right. So inclusivity has been a big deal. And I think once again, it just opens up that door where, my older father lives at home. I can't travel right now, but I can participate virtually easily. It wipes away some of those time zones. I think that's another great one. It's just, I think what first blew my mind when I did a full-blown hybrid was the cost of closed caption. I was like, what?
Right. Did you have a live captioner?
What?
You had a live captioner, right, Cindy?
No, it was just to take the videos that we captured, and then close caption them to put them online for people to watch later. I mean, I could turn on closed caption right now with Zoom. So thanks to the live stream, it's on. Yeah. But if I am video capturing somebody and then I want to put that on my platform for on-demand view, to add closed caption is really costly. I would love to see the cost of that go down. And someone come up with an AI for that so it's cheaper.
But the,
Um,
the amount of automated captioning that's happening now too, and if you
yeah.
haven't seen Zoom's new feature, right, you can speak in English and get, I think, like 10 languages for, and it's only $5 a month.
Oh, that's cool.
You could, if anything was in English, you can say, I would like the Chinese captions or the German captions or the Italian captions. It's pretty amazing. I'm waiting for it to get it turned on for my account. I have made the request, but I haven't gotten it yet because I think that that's the next level. And that's where, when accessibility doesn't cost anything, but you just got to do it. I think that's
Mhm.
a no-brainer for us as digital event strategists to provide that access to people and let
Yeah,
them experience it in the way that they want to. So.
exactly.
Yeah, exactly. All right, Cindy, if people only remembered one thing from this interview, what's that one thing you want them to remember?
Plug in your computer.
Plug in your computer and don't make me do the gala, right?
Yeah, don't make me do the gala. It'll
Cindy,
be fine, but it'll be better if someone else does it.
Cindy, I'm so glad that I got to meet you personally as a
Yeah.
digital event strategist of the year. If this is what the award is doing for us, is getting us to network. I
Mhm.
think that's great. And, no matter who wins, I think think about it, right? We're the top 3 out of PCMA right now. And
Hey,
we should run that for a year. And so thank you so much for coming onto the show and sharing your experience too. Again, I'm a computer scientist, and so that little bit of academia in me is really great to see how it's applied now in these academia fields. And I'm sure you're helping to make change and make breakthroughs and make discoveries, right?
that's a nice thing working with scientists. You could just say, well, it's an experiment.
Ex-
So, John, it's been great meeting you too. I hope you're going to be able to come to DC and be part of the gala in March, and we can meet face to face then. I'm trying to fly back from our meeting in Vegas to participate in it. It's like, cross my fingers, I could get a flight. Um,
Cross your finger the FAA doesn't crash. Oh, just kidding.
oh, that's always talk about IT solutions. Woo! It's
Exactly.
been a pleasure, and I look forward to talking to you more.
Great. Thank you so much. Shout out to our good friends, Nicole Smith, who said she's a master's level educated adult and appreciates the virtual opportunities. And to my good friend, Olivia, and one of my friends who's Facebook user who is chatting questions, but I don't know who you are yet. By the way, make sure and go to chat.restream.io/FB and I'll figure out who you are. Cindy, thank you so much again. Excellent. All right, I'm John Chen, and we've gotten a chance here to talk with the PCMA Digital Event Strategist of the Year, Cindy Smith. We hope you enjoyed this conversation and that you take some of these tips, right? As you're going through your laptop or as you log into a meeting, especially if you're going to present, think about, is my laptop logged in? And you will think about Cindy Smith. All right, you have a great weekend. Stay safe, and we will see you next time here on the Engaging Virtual Meetings interview.
Always start people and keep old people.